Good afternoon, 11x1. I hope you are doing well, that you've had a good weekend and a good start to your week. And now let's begin our new topic for this week in English. As promised last week, we're putting an end to Romeo and Juliet, and we're going to take it a little bit slower in terms of working towards these progress assessments we've been doing. Today, while you're working on this, I'll be marking your Romeo and Juliet, and I should have those all finished by the time Parents' Evening rolls around on Thursday. So, without further ado, let's begin today's lesson. We are returning to English Language Paper 1 skills, but really I don't want to focus on the exam 100% here, and instead focus on the skills that we're returning to, but also the fact that we're studying what are some fantastic short stories over the next 2 weeks. We're beginning today with a short story called The Open Window. Now, before we begin any actual reading, so don't race ahead, don't read the story yet, let's just focus on where we are right now. I want you to take a moment to write down a few sentences, a few bullet points, a short paragraph, explaining what you might expect in a story called The Open Window. What does that title suggest to you? So do that now. Pause. Okay, so we're going to start reading the story now. As we're reading, there's going to be pause points where I need you to stop reading or stop listening and then do the piece of work that happens at that point before we carry on with the reading. Please don't race ahead. It's quite important for how we're studying this text today. Okay, now as you're reading the text, I've also created a recording of me reading it if you find it easier to listen along as you read. But it's your choice whether you just read it or whether you follow along with the reading. There are 2 links here that you can follow to that. So let's begin our reading up to that first pause point now. Once you reach that first pause point, please pause. Pause. Okay, you now have 3 questions to answer. They should be pretty self-evident, but let's read through them together anyway. 1, what are your expectations from a story when a character thinks that something can't or won't happen? I mean, this is classic, isn't it? Somebody saying, well, it couldn't possibly get worse, is a great way to indicate that things are probably going to get worse, right? So, what are your expectations? Because you've just seen that happen in this short story where our main character, Mr. Natal, has said, tragedy doesn't belong here. He seems to be setting himself up for something. 2, write 2 or 3 sentences or a short paragraph using some evidence, if you can. So that's a quote. What is your first impression of Mr. Natal? What kind of a character is he, do you think? What would the reader of this text feel about this man from this first part of the text? Number 3, same question, but focused on the young lady. Her name is Vera. What impression does she give you as well? Again, what evidence, what quote can you find to back up that impression? So please do this now, and then we'll continue with our reading. Here, make sure you pause, of course, once you reach the correct point. So answer those 3 questions, and then let's continue with our reading up to, I almost get a creepy feeling that they will all walk in through that window. Pause. Okay, so here we are. Even though I said I don't want to focus everything we do over the next 2 weeks on English Language Paper 1, I would also not be doing my job if I completely ignored the fact that these very important assessments and skills are required at some point in the future. So with what we've read today, we're going to focus on one of those question types, question 3. How does the writer use language and structure to build tension? Support your views with reference to the text. And the text is here in front of you. You can also find it on your worksheet. In this paragraph, the young woman, Vera, describes or explains to the protagonist a tragedy. And she is presenting this in a way, she's written in a way to try and create a sense of tension, if not horror or terror. Okay, definitely creating suspense. But how? What can you identify in this that is doing so? You should try and answer this in about 10 to 15 minutes, which is realistically about what you would have under exam conditions. Okay, so do that now. And here we are for the final part of today's lesson. Read as far as I said, Birdie, do you bound? And stop there. Please don't read the conclusion of the story, at least not until you've done the question here. What do you think will happen next? Now, you can write that in a single sentence or a single bullet point. But if you want to push yourself a bit further, there's an extension task here where you write your own ending to this story, which here you're starting to get into those section B skills for question 5 and 6, the narrative writing. This is really good practice, but I'm setting it as an extension task because there's already quite a bit to do today. The real ending is 186 words in length, so you're aiming for roughly around that same quantity. Okay. We're going to look at the ending of the story tomorrow, but of course, once you've done this work, if you cannot help yourself and you want to read through to the end, please do. Please just don't read the ending until you've done this task. And there you go, 11x1. That is your lesson for today. All you need to upload to Teams as evidence of the work from today is, well, the activities that are found in the worksheet, the questions you have to answer, your predictions, and most importantly, that activity 5, the question 3 practice based on that long paragraph from Vera. So please get all of that up. And tomorrow we will finish the story and we're going to do a little bit more work around it. Everything we're doing here is, of course, to help prepare you for English Language Paper 1 and to revisit those skills. But I think more importantly than that, it's also exposing you to a wider range of short fiction across time and genres. We'll be looking at a number of other short stories over the rest of this week and next week. So as always, have a great day, keep healthy, keep safe, and goodbye.